Okay, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Anbiya wal Mursaleen, Allahumma alimna ma yanfa'una, wanfa'na bima tu'allimuna, wa zidna bi fadlika ilman wa ta'liman, innaka ala kulli shay'in qadir. Okay, so he says, it is not permissible to receive zakat, someone who is self-sufficient due to wealth, he has savings, or the ability to work. We mentioned last week, then somebody engaged in a communal obligation is also who and is able to contribute to that. Not like, hey, I decided to become a rocket scientist because it's really important. No, you can actually do the job, right? I am going to research life on Mars, and I actually have the ability to do it, and I'm going to dedicate myself to that. So now I'm going to be on zakat because if I went and did something else, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing. Right? We mentioned that. Number two, slaves. Why could a slave not receive zakat?
Because the slave owner is responsible for them.
Okay, so would you ever pay money to a $10 note?
Uh, no,
Right? Why not? Why can't the $10 note receive money?
because it's property.
It is money.
It doesn't have agency for
Yeah, it
itself.
doesn't. So you can't give money to money. That doesn't make any sense, right? So you couldn't. Now, can you give a gift to a slave? You could, right? I mean, but you're kind of like giving a gift to a slave is like giving a gift to a horse. Like, hey, I brought a whole lot of apples for this my favorite horse, right? Who you giving it to? You're giving to the horse owner. That's what you're doing, right? Um, okay. So number
I
three,
have a question.
go ahead, Bismillah.
Uh, so for number one, you said
Sorry,
it's
Badr, did I tell you about the famous slave called Badr?
you mentioned him, and I know about him
Okay,
because of
okay.
reading about him.
Alhamdulillah. Okay. So the funny thing, he was headhunted, but like headhunted in the sense that everybody wanted to buy him because he was really talented and he was like a politician and he was in government and he was like he had could do lots of different things. So he was bought and sold by many different people because he was really good, right? Um,
Oh, I don't think we're thinking of the same person.
he's an
I was thinking of the one who helped Abdul Rahman, like the Khalifa of the Umayyads, escape and go to Spain.
No, totally different person. This is
Oh, okay.
so this is I'll try and find him inshallah. So I remember I was doing this like course in like random just like reading. So we're just reading random texts. So the class was we just like pick up this biographical work by Al-Hafidh al-Sakhawi. It's called الضوء اللامع في أعيان القرن التاسع. The shining light concerning the significant people who lived in the ninth century. So just like, biographical list, under Badr, so and so, so and so. He was a slave, he was owned by so and so, he was trained in these different things in rhetoric and poetry and this and this and this. Then he was sold to so and so, and then sold to so and so, and sold to so and so, right? And you have female slaves like that as well, right? Female slaves who were known for various different things, sometimes just like sold for beauty, like she was really good looking, like sold, she never had any children. So if she had children, you couldn't sell her. If she never had any children, then you can sell her. So they'd be sold to so and so. She had an amazing voice. So people would buy her because she had an amazing voice. I want to buy this female slave and she's going to sing for me. She had a really amazing voice, something like that. You know, things like that happened. Okay. Okay. Go ahead, Badr. You had your question before I went on a tangent.
Um, and so someone who is self-sufficient due to wealth or work.
Mhm.
But you mentioned like so someone who can work but they're not working, they're just like being a lazy bum.
They
Does
are
that
not.
person
They're
still
not zakat eligible. No.
okay? And what determines whether like that's the case, because there are people who will go and like people give them a job, but then they do a bad job, so they just keep getting,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
let go. And
So that's not. They're not zakat eligible. No. Yeah.
okay,
And there is a thing because again, class is a consideration in the Sharia, right? Class is a consideration. So you say, for example, this person, he just graduated from Yale in law. Okay. So he's looking for a job. Okay. He's from a family of professionals. His mom's a dentist, his dad this, is this. And so it's like, you don't expect, so he's like, okay, after 1 week, he couldn't find a job. Okay, go and work at McDonald's. He's not expected to go and work at McDonald's. But that's not the kind of thing he would do, right? He's not from a family of people who would do that kind of thing. So, okay, he couldn't find this amazing internship in whatever it was he wanted to do. You have to accept something else. Beggars can't be choosers. But you're not expected to just do menial work, manual work, you know? He's like, well, I have a job that's paying 1 rupee an hour, and you can go and carry these shoes back. That's not a thing that you can do. So it's not, so class is a thing, meaning like somebody of your kind of background is not expected to do this kind of work. That would be considered extremely like random, right? That's not a thing that you would do, right? And this would be very relevant, let's say, not so much in the West, but much more in the East, whereas like there are classes, right? Like people would do this, people would not do this, right? Um, and sometimes it's wrong, but sometimes it is like real. Like there's a certain kind of thing that you would do, and there's no work in that field at all or anything like that. And now I'm going to have to go and do something like very, very menial. Then it's not you're not obliged to do stuff like that. But for a lot of people, and this is particularly Gen whatever X, well, what are we in Gen Z or whatever it is? It's like they're just tire kickers, right? Like they just look at jobs like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Oh, that's not me, right? Like take 3 months off because for emotional something. It's like, what are you talking about, right? So most people, it's like, bro, like my friend Spotlight, this conversation. Uh, pause. Okay. Bismillah. So slaves, descendants of Bani Hashim and Bani Muttalib, right? So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself could not receive charity or zakat. Okay, but Ahl Bayt in general, right? Ahl Bayt in general, and I don't know exactly where it stops because I know that the charity was forbidden for him and for his immediate family, but where it stops, I don't know. I've got to check. But basically, so somebody who's from Ahl Bayt, they cannot receive zakat. Okay, but what did they receive instead? They
I mean, they definitely received specific dua,
Okay, that's true. But
like Tasbihati al-Fatima.
right, but go ahead. Somebody was going to typing. They're supposed to receive war booty, right? So they're supposed to in jihad, right? That a certain portion there's one they're going to receive. What's going to happen is 1/25th of the spoils of war is supposed to. So it's 4%, right? 4% is supposed to go to Ahl Bayt, right? It's supposed to go to Ahl Bayt. Now, I don't know why, but the Shia, they have something like that where they give a significant amount of their money to Ahl Bayt, right? They receive like, I don't know, like 1/5 of your income you give to Ahl Bayt or something like that. I don't know how it is, right? And Agha Khan community, however they're connected to that whole thing, they obviously receive a ridiculous amount of money. But that's what's supposed to happen, right? 4% of the spoils of war are supposed to go to Ahl Bayt, right? Now, that hasn't happened for a long time, right? That hasn't happened for a long time. And so now you can have a situation where your friend is from Ahl Bayt and there is zakat for available, but they can't receive it. So today, certain scholars have said Ahl Bayt can receive zakat min bab al-darura, right? From the point of view that they're generally poor and they generally need the money and the money is there, but the only reason they can't receive it is because they're from Ahl Bayt and they need that money, that yes, they can, right? And so, ideally, we would find ways around that, right? Ideally, we would say give them charity and not zakat, right? Um, you know, and in general, it is noble. The Prophet ﷺ said that the upper hand is better than the lower hand. It's better to be in a situation where you have money and you are not and you are giving than to be in a position where you are receiving, right? So it's a noble thing to do, to be in a situation where you are giving and not receiving. That's something that we should all aspire, try and be in that situation. But again, sometimes situations are otherwise. Khair. So Bani Hashim and Bani Muttalib. Okay, number 4, non-Muslims. What's the exception here?
Dhimma?
You can't give zakat to Ahl al-Dhimma, no. So Jews and Christians who are citizens of a Muslim state, no.
Is it non-Muslims on the verge of becoming Muslim?
Not on the reliable proposition, no.
Ustad, what about non-Muslim zakat collectors?
Thank you. Right. So non-Muslim zakat collectors. Right. So you are a non-Muslim working in Malaysia as an accountant for the zakat thing under the Ministry of Zakat or whatever it's called, and you do not receive a salary, and rather, or the state, the state could just do that. The state could collect zakat and give it to you. Right. Okay. Whoever the zakat giver is required to support. So can I give zakat to my poor wife? I'm
No.
well. Why not? She's poor lady. She hasn't eaten in 2 weeks. I'm very wealthy, mashallah. I have millions of dollars, but my wife is very poor.
Because you're required to support her anyway.
Exactly. So her poverty is my poverty, right? So she cannot receive zakat, and I can't give zakat to her. So if she hasn't eaten for 2 weeks, because I haven't eaten for 2 weeks, then I receive zakat and I provide to her, right? That's how it works. So you give to somebody based on how many people they have to support, right? How much they need, right? But it's not that so like in that situation, not going to be zakat eligible, right? Now again, in a situation where there's a sister, the husband is an alcoholic, we can't really get in touch with him. If we give him the money, he's just going to spend it, right? And so she's in a situation, then min bab al-darura, from the point of view like duress, like she really needs this money right now, that's something else, right? That's a different situation. But by default, we would talk to him and say, well, your wife has come to the masjid asking for money. You need to ask for money, and here we have the money for you, right? And then he spends it on her or the kids, whatever, right? And just quickly, then who are we obliged to support, right? So let's look at myself, for example. There's me. Am I obliged to support my brothers?
No.
No. What if they're poor?
No.
No, you're not in the Shafi school. You're not obliged to support your brothers and sisters, right? Unless, by extension, you have to support your parents, and they have small kids, and you have to support those kids. Okay, my mum who is married, do I have to support her?
No.
Okay, what if
No.
my mum was not married? Would I have to support her?
Yes.
Yes, I have to support
Yes.
her. Okay, what if she's a
I mean,
millionaire?
Sheikh, doesn't this tie to the conversation we had last week or 2 weeks ago about the obligation to marry our unmarried parents,
Yes.
right?
So you don't. So why is it that you don't have to marry your mother off, because she could get married off without paying anything, and then that's it. But with the father, yeah, that's part of the nafaqa wajiba, part of the obligatory support that you have to do for your father. Is he wants to gets married, and he doesn't have the money to get married. So when you say supporting your parents, the condition for supporting the parents is two things. Sorry, it's one thing. They don't have savings. That's it. So you are 15, and your dad is is 35. He is very capable of working. In fact, he can work and make a lot of money. He doesn't want to work anymore. So your parents have a right to say, I don't have any money saved, and I don't want to work anymore. That's it.
Can I ask 2 questions, Sheikh?
Well, not sure, Chan.
So first of all, just to clarify, yes, like, okay, so just to be clear, what if your parents are not Muslim?
It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. So
Okay, so alhamdulillah. So that's
yes. So
interesting. And then the other,
supporting has nothing to do with whether someone's a
okay,
Muslim or not. So supporting your kids, whether they're Muslim or not. Let's say, for example, your son is sane, but he's physically disabled, so he's not able to work, and he left Islam. May Allah protect us, right? Still have to support him. Your wife, she's a Jew or Christian, still have to support her, right? Parents, whether Muslim or not, it doesn't matter. Right?
and then the second
Go
question
ahead.
was about the siblings part.
Mhm.
If My siblings, okay, well, again, also the siblings have to be Muslim.
No. So financial support has nothing to do with Islam.
But we're talking about zakat. That's what I'm
Oh
asking.
yeah, that's something else. The zakat. Yeah, so you cannot
So I
give.
mean specifically, so zakah cannot go to non-Muslim parents.
No, you cannot.
Okay, and the other question was is I think you mentioned before that, in terms of the priority of who should get
Yes,
zakah.
so the question is, Sham, is why could you not pay zakat to non-Muslim parents? So I mean, here's a particular scenario. Okay, imagine if so you could be not obliged. How to explain this? You could be not obliged to support your parents, but pay them zakat at the same time. How? Um, I have 18 kids, okay, and it's very expensive for me to support them. Okay, so I cannot support I have to support my kids before my parents. So now because I don't have enough to support my kids, okay, I do not have to support my parents, okay? However, I have saved $3,000 for a year. So the zakat is due on that $3,000, even though I'm poor, if that makes sense. Okay, and actually, if I spent that $3,000, I still wouldn't have enough for this month for my kids. Okay, so I am zakat eligible. I am not obliged to support my parents because I don't have the means, but I could give zakat to my parents because the zakat on that 3,000 has to be paid at the end of the year, and I could give it to them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But normally, you can't be in a scenario where you give zakat to your parents because normally, if you didn't, if you had enough money to support them, you would just have to support them. And if they were poor, then you are poor. If that makes sense. Does that make sense? Like
No, I don't. I guess it doesn't. Why would my parents' financial status? I mean, if
you're
they're poor, how am I poor?
because if they're poor, you have to support them. So that's your poverty, not their poverty. It's like saying my wife's poor. It's like, yeah, I mean, you mean you're poor. That's what it means. Like she doesn't have any money. Like she doesn't have the money. She doesn't have the means to eat and drink. That's because you're not providing for her. So it's that. Does that make sense?
Just to be clear, we're using I guess I'm confused, Sheikh, because of maybe I'm stuck in a Western understanding of poverty. We're talking about poverty here as a state of being.
We're talking about poverty, meaning you do not have the basic means to that you need on on a normal basis, given your normal situation. So let's say he can't pay his electricity bill, right? He doesn't have money. He doesn't even have a fridge. He doesn't even have the money to buy a car, and he lives in most places in America. You
Yeah.
need a car, that kind of thing. That's what we mean by poor.
I'm sorry, just one more question just to clarify, and I hope this is helpful to the others, is I guess I was just confused because when you said, like, if in the situation where my parents had poverty, this idea that it would be my poverty, I guess I was just trying to wrap my mind around that because if I had the financial means to cover their poverty, then it's not really my poverty. You mean like my responsibility to take care
Yeah.
of
So
them?
basically, when the so it's like so look at your child. Okay, your child has not eaten for the last 2 weeks. So do I give money to you or do I give money to the child? I give money to you to feed the child because you're obliged to support the child. Does that make sense? So
Yes,
your
thank you.
child, your wife, your parents, it's all the same system. Does that make
Right, got
sense?
it. Yes,
Right.
thank you.
Okay, so what are the conditions then? So being a Muslim or not is irrelevant. The issue is that that just one condition, they do not have the savings. So your dad, for example, he has 5 houses, he's got investments with all these different companies, he's just cash coming out of nowhere, and he gives it all away. He said, I gave it all away. And he says, I'm going to be in the masjid for the next 50 years. Please pay my bills. And you're like, Dad, what are you doing, bro? Like, you were this millionaire. Like, what happened? I gave it all away. I've given it all away. Every single thing. So you could have given me a house, and then it's like, no, I gave it all away. Here's I need this. You support mum. You support your little brother who's not old enough to work yet. So your dad now no longer has any savings, even though he's able to work. He says, you support me, support mum, and support the kids. See you guys later. I'm in the masjid. Right? He has a right to do that. Right? He has a right to just stop work and give all his savings away. And then he has no savings. Right? And now you're obliged to support him. But if he has savings, you're not obliged to support him. Right? So when would you be obliged to support your mother? In that your mother is not married, or that you would have to support your mother because you have to support your father. Right? So if you have to support your father, then you have to support your mother. If you have to support your mother and father, then and they have kids who are, let's say, for example, from another marriage or who are your full siblings but are not old enough to be able to work, then you have to support them as well. Okay. But otherwise, by default, you do not have to support your siblings, right? So if your parents are not alive anymore and your siblings they knock on your door like, hey, I need help. They're like, yeah, you're not obliged to help them. Right? They're just like, in terms of zakat, they are just another person in the world who is poor, right? So obviously helping them is more important than anybody else, but in terms of obligation, they don't have the right over you that you support them, right? That's in the Shafi school and the Maliki school. And in the Hanafi and Hanbali school, they do, right? It is actually obligatory. Like, if they come sick or disabled or whatever, you do have to support them. But in the Shafi and Maliki school, no, they're just another person out there who's poor, right? Okay, so who do you have to support then? You have to support your parents if they don't have savings, right? Who else? So even if they're able to work, and your kids, if they don't have savings, if they don't have savings, and they are able to work. So for your kids, if they are wealthy, right, they have lots of cash, and then they're not working, you don't have to support them. So your son was given $1 million from his uncle. You don't have to support your son. You just use his money for his food, for his schooling, for whatever it is you have to pay for, right? For his healthcare and whatever, right? You're not obliged to support him. But if he doesn't have any money, A, and B, he's not able to work, right? So let's say most people in the West before 16, you can't really work. Like it's not gonna, I mean, I guess you could under the table, right? Like, I mean, I'm sure there are people who do it, people who are like under 16 and working, but usually like under six, in the States, do you have to be at school from 17 to 18? Yeah, are you obliged to be at school?
17 to 18? No.
You can leave school at 16?
I think so, yeah. I think you can drop out.
Right. So basically, he drops out and he gets a job, and he lives with his friends, they rent a flat together, rent an apartment together. Okay. Right. Can it, could a 16-year-old get together 1,500 a month? Think so, right? You do that. So him and his friends, they rent a place, $2,000, and he lives off that, and that's about it. There we go. Right. And the same thing for your daughter, right? She can go and live with her friends, can get married, do whatever, right? So it's important that our kids are cognizant of that, right? Because the kids are often, like, I'm very happy to give charity to you. You're my son. As I told my kids, they're like trying to eat my food. I said, kids, like, if I could give you my blood, I would, right? That's a normal paternal, maternal relationship. Like, I would give you anything I have, not a problem. But it's important, particularly for a boy, like, hey, bro, do realize that daddy's paying for your masters, right? And daddy's paying for your PhD, and daddy's bought you a car, and daddy helped you get married, right? And that was all charity, right? It's all charity. It's all a gift from your dad. It's not an obligation. Just because your dad's wealthy does not have to pay for any of these things. You're an independent man, stand on your own 2 feet, right? So that's the biggest thing, right? That you can give your son is to enable him to stand on his own 2 feet, right? Not that um, that's so it's important that kids, they're aware of that, right? So a teenager is from the age of 7 to 12. That's teenager. Adulthood is like 12 and up. A Teenager is not 12 to 25, and adulthood is like 25 and up. That's not right. So the training zone, the way that we look at us as a teenager, like they're like that, whatever. He's got a funny haircut, he is a teenager, whatever. Yeah, it doesn't do his homework, he's a teenager. He's kind of like, just living off the house because he's a teenager, right? Like he's not expected to pay stuff because he's just a teenager. That's 7 to 12, right? That's 7, 8, 9, 10. You're getting close to your puberty now, 11, 12, 13, 14. You reach puberty, oh, okay. Can you find a job in a local farm? Yeah, okay, go. Right, so go and do what you want. You want to do something, go and do it. Right? You want to go to school, go and make money and then go to school. Right? So it's quite important to understand that we're quite we're kind of quite, right and left is all a bit weird today, but we're quite right wing, if you know what I mean? Like we believe in slaves, like, whoa, you guys are super right wing, right? Like, but like that whole idea, like you don't have a right to this or right to that. You're able to go and get a job, go and get a job. Doesn't make that much money, that's your problem. So there's a big difference between the paternal or maternal feeling to support the child and charity, which is great, and helping your family, versus obligations. Dad, right? Mom, where's my pancakes? Like your mom does not have to make you pancakes for you, for crying out loud. Right? You should never ever say, Mum, where's my pancake? Or Pam, where's my pancakes? Pam, where's the soda? And it's like, oh my God, you're speaking to your mum and using her front name, and like you're angry at her. She didn't buy soda from it's like subhanallah, right? Like the attitude is just off, right? The attitude is off. It's like, no, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is training zone. We're now training, right? You've reached puberty, you're old enough to work now. You're your own man. Right? That's a very key thing. You're your own woman, right? Many parents do not speak to their kids like that. They don't let the bird fly the nest, right? Obviously, because there's dangers in it, right? You give them independence, they do stupid things, right? But they are adults. That's the thing, right? Like Badr stops coming to the classes. I'm like, what happened, Badr? And then I'm like, yeah, ask Imam Bakr, have you seen Badr recently? Like, I haven't seen him in like 2 years. Like, where is he? Go to Oakland. Like, nobody's seeing in the masjid. Oh, Badr stopped praying. It's like, well, Badr is an independent man, right? What am I supposed to do? I can advise him, but I can't force him to be religious or force him to come to my classes or force him to do anything, right? And so it's like that's what a teenager is like. Is they're your own man, fall on your face a few times. What can I do? So we have to kind of a bit of a balance there, and we see these ideas that a child in the Shafi school, right? When there's a divorce, the child at the age of 7 chooses: do you want to be with mommy or do you want to be with daddy? We ask him, who do you want to be with, right? And then, well, what about after that? It's like, well, you don't have custody ends at puberty. Okay, why does custody end at puberty? Well, because they're an adult and do what you want, right? So like imagine a situation like there's this 13-year-old girl and we're like vying over custody. No, she's with me. No, she's with you. It's like, hang on a minute. She's like, yeah, I actually just got married. I'm going to leave with my husband in another country. I'm like, oh, okay. Like you've reached puberty, khalas, right? You're old enough for your hand to be cut off. You're old enough to become pregnant. You're old enough to go to hellfire forever. You're old enough to do your homework or not do your homework. Don't do your homework. It's up to you, right? So this whole teenage thing is a huge disservice to kids. It's a huge disservice to mankind, and it's a good money maker. It makes a lot of money, right? Teenagers are good help with consumerism. Makes a lot of money, right? It's great for business when you have a bunch of kids who just want to spend money and and have fun. It's great. But it's not that's not how so teenagehood is not a thing. If it exists, like when they say murahiq, which is the translation of teenager in Arabic, murahiq means a pre-pubescent child, right? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, that kind of age, right? That's a murahiq, right? Otherwise, other than that, you're a kabir. You're an adult. You're old enough to do what adults do. Old enough to have kids. You're old enough to take life, create life, take life, enter paradise, enter hell. You're old enough to do all of these things. So why am I talking to you in a way that makes you feel or think or imagine that you're not responsible? It's not true. So may Allah reward my mum. My mum's very, very loving woman, very, very affectionate. But like she was like, I remember being I don't know what age, maybe 8. I'm not sure about 7, but I think 8. It was like, yeah, you don't want to you don't if you want to have a lunchbox tomorrow at school, make it. Right? So she wasn't harsh or horrible, very, very loving. But it's just like, bro, you're a boy, you can make your own lunchbox. It's not that difficult. Right? Here's the food, put it together, you know? Um, you're very capable, right? So making people stand on your own 2 feet is a very important thing, right? And that's a part and parcel of the whole right-wing mentality, right? It's like, don't give too many financial aid to people because then they don't help themselves, right? It's not 100% true, of course, but it is true to some extent, right? It's like, you know, people work hard who want things. So make them want things and they'll work hard. So it is important from some point of view. Okay, so who else do we have to support then? So when would we have to support our grandkids then?
If perhaps, for example, if your daughter is married and she is widowed
Mm-hmm.
or divorced, and her children
Mm-hmm.
or her children have to be taken care of by their dad.
Yeah, so my may Allah protect my daughter's husband passes away, so now I have to support my daughter and I have to support her kids, and I have to support these grandchildren, right? So, but the default is grandchildren support grandparents, right? That's the default, right? So again, now it's like, let's say how I grew up, like I would go and see my grandma, of course. I was 16 when my grandma passed away. I never ever had in my mind the idea that I would support, serve, protect my grandmother. That was not something that was like I grew up with. Like, oh yeah, go to grandma, see if you can do some things for her garden. Like that's not how I grew up. That's totally wrong, right? It's like, no, you're a strong young man. Go and see if grandma needs help, right? That's an Eastern, but 100% Islamic way of thinking, right? This is your grandma, for crying out loud. You wouldn't exist without her. She is standing in the stead of Allah, like the Kaaba, right? That's what the parents are. Like even if they're bad and even if they're non-Muslim, the point is they created you, right? They are like the closest sharik to Allah, right? Well, la sharika lahu, has no sharik, but it's like they stand in that stead of they are the means through which you exist, right? So they deserve respect, and that's their haqq, right? And it's not a personal thing. It's not like I'm serving you, but I'm serving Allah through you, right? So this is a haqq that our kids have over us, is to help them understand that serving parents is part of serving Allah, and that's a good and noble thing, and it's not a personal thing, right? So if you look at Freud, right, um, Freud and his way of looking at it is very like weird. It's like your horrible relationship with your dad, which is he has a obviously very interesting way of looking at it, is flipped into your horrible and unhealthy relationship with God, right? Like it's internalized, but it's the other way around. It's your beautiful, meaningful, deep relationship with your creator that now informs your relationship with your parents. Like you don't look at your parents as parents. You look at your parents as a means to draw near to Allah, right? It doesn't matter what they say, it doesn't matter what they do, it doesn't matter their attitude, that's irrelevant, right? It's like it's really important, right? And it's obviously very difficult because we're close to our parents, right? And parents do things that they shouldn't do, or they can be cruel, they can be unfair, they can be, you can do all sorts of things that's not nice, and it's hard because you deal with them on a daily basis. It's not like asking, please go and show respect to that old woman walking across the street, or please go and help that old man. It's easy to be respectful to somebody who's distant from you, but somebody who's close, it's hard. It gets more complex, right? And that's why there's a greater reward for it, right? Or being respectful to your husband is very hard to be respectful to your husband because you live with him. He's not that amazing guy. Right? apart from Sham, the super husband. Okay, joking. But it's hard. It's hard to be respectful to your husband, but that's why it's such a reward, right? To revere your husband. Okay, anyway, so you cannot give inshallah. Um um what I was gonna say was what? Um you can't give zakat to people you have to support. So you have to support your wife, you have to support your kids until they reach puberty and they're able to work. You have to support your parents if they don't have savings. You have to support your animals, right? So I remember when I went to California, I was like, that's it, no more inedible animals, no more inedible pets, right? So you have an animal, you have a cow, you have a sheep. So you either feed the sheep or eat the sheep. You can't just leave the sheep, right? Can't just do that. You have a rabbit. Okay, just put the rabbit in the field somewhere and I got it. That's it. Can you do that? You can't do that. Either eat the rabbit or give the rabbit to somebody or feed the rabbit. You can't just do neither nor, right? There's issues as well, like looking after inanimate things, right? The wall is about to fall down. It just needs to be fixed here. If you left it, it'll actually all collapse. So that's bad. That's itlaf al-mal, like you're wasting things. Like you actually have to do that, right? And other things that we recommended, like fixing your car, right? I don't want to fix my car. We recommended to do that though. It's good. Right? Look after your car. Look after your phone. Don't trash it, right? Do something with it, right? So we live, unfortunately, the consumer society, just throw things away, right? Whereas that's not give it to somebody else, right? Alhamdulillah for Facebook Marketplace, you know, give it to somebody who's going to use it. Alhamdulillah, it's good. It's a good has a bid'ah that's good, right? Somebody you have an old computer and you don't want it, it's not worth anything. Somebody wants it, great. Alhamdulillah. Right? Old vacuum cleaner. Okay. Zakat is not given to them under the category of poor or impoverished because you are. It's given to you instead. Okie dokie. Any questions or queries? Okay, I'm going to stop the recording because I'm going to start again for fasting, inshallah.